Welcome into Eye on Northeast Kansas, the podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Bruner. This is where we recap some of the top interviews you saw and heard on Eye on Northeast Kansas, the TV show. You can catch it live 4 p.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday, on air and streaming online on WIBW.com from our WIBW TV studios in Topeka, the capital city of Kansas. We were joined recently by our Kansas congressman from the state's 2nd Congressional District, Derek Schmidt. Congress, of course, had been in the midst of a lot of budget discussions, and a lot of people had been concerned about some of the cuts, reductions that were contained within that budget bill. Congressman Schmidt decided to stop in and answered some of our questions and some of the concerns that you'd been expressing. And welcome to you.
Thank you very much. Good to be back.
I know that you applauded the House passage of this bill, but I do want to ask you about the concerns that have been raised. Top among them that hundreds, if not thousands of Kansans could lose health care through Medicaid, that hundreds, if not thousands of Kansans could lose food assistance benefits. How do you respond to those concerns? Is that going to happen, or is something being misunderstood?
Well, I think first of all, you got to remember where we are in the process. I mean, there is this rare moment we can use a tool called reconciliation. It's what the president likes to call one big beautiful bill, but the more technical term, it's a reconciliation bill that you can make changes in tax policy, and you can make changes in what they call mandatory spending, which is the automatic spending programs, including some of the publicly funded healthcare programs. You only get to use that tool on very rare occasions, but it's important because it's a tool that avoids the filibuster in the Senate. Otherwise, everything runs into a 60-vote wall in the Senate and you can't get things done. So when we talk about the need to try to start to bend down the curve of this explosion in federal spending that we've seen over the last generation and certainly since the start of COVID, the only way to do that is to use the reconciliation tool. So that's the context in which the discussion is happening. In terms of what's in there, I mean, we have the tax cuts extenders that kind of continue what's been in place since 2017. We have the other pieces that the president campaigned on, no tax on tips and no tax on overtime and some of those other pieces. We also have some of the changes on the mandatory spending side. And the only piece of mandatory spending that's touched in terms of the big programs is the Medicaid piece. What we've really pushed on from a Kansas standpoint, and by we, I mean those of us in the Kansas delegation working on trying to get support for this thing, is to make sure that those changes have the minimum possible impact on folks in Kansas, and I believe they will. So for example, on the Medicaid piece, the changes that are in the bill as it left the House, and there's still a long way to go, the Senate's got to deal with all of this as well. The changes deal with work requirement for able-bodied adults who are able to work, don't have dependent children, are not disabled, are not elderly or in a nursing home, but they qualify for Medicaid almost always under the expansion population. Well, we don't have that in Kansas because Kansas chose not to expand Medicaid to that population. So that piece doesn't have a substantial impact in Kansas. Likewise, there are some changes on the eligibility checks. At the start of COVID, normally, routinely, people would come on and off the Medicaid program. That happens all the time, has since we've had the start of the program. And at the start of COVID, they put a pause on that. They said nobody rolls off for right now. Well, they've restarted the rolling off and the eligibility checks. No changes in eligibility, just restarts of the eligibility checks. But some states have not been as diligent as Kansas has in actually enforcing that. So there's still a lot of people on the rolls in some states, mostly other states, who aren't supposed to be there, not because of anything we've done, but because that's been the law. So those are the types of changes we tried to make. A lot of people call them fraud, waste, and abuse.
Well, and people might accept part of that, but what about those who are kind of caught in the middle? And especially when you talk about food assistance, because certainly, and you might say, well, the food pantries can keep up with that, whoever might fall through the cracks, but they're already stressed to the limit. Yeah. So will people lose food assistance benefits?
So that's a different issue. There's the Medicaid piece, there's the SNAP piece, which is the food assistance piece. In terms of the food assistance piece, Congressman Mann's really been our lead on that in Kansas because he sits on the Agriculture Committee that worked on that piece of the legislation. But my understanding on that is that the focus is really on trying to make sure that some sort of expanded eligibility pieces that were supposed to have rolled back have rolled back, and that states are doing a diligent job in enforcing the eligibility requirements for the SNAP program.
So it's back to the fraud and abuse again.
That's the concept.
I want to, well, before we run out of time, I do want to ask your thoughts on the situation that's happening with international students at our colleges and universities. Do you feel international students have a place in the U.S., and how concerned should the schools be who are sitting out there, or the students who are sitting out there right now, hearing about these pauses, hearing about these blocks, hearing about some of them being revoked? How concerned should they be, and what place do international students have in the U.S.?
Well, I think international students are very important to our colleges and universities and to our communities in the United States. Certainly here in Topeka, where we're sitting right now, we have Washburn's a terrific institution. We're just down the road from KU and K-State, big international student presences, and we want to continue that. They really enrich our universities. The administration has sort of painted with a broad brush on international students right now. What I hope they will do, as they often do, is start very strong, very broad, and then sort of fashion a more tailored approach. There are problems in some parts of the country, particularly with some of the universities that have not been, shall we say, particularly stringent in screening who from, for example, mainland China has come into our country. You want to be very careful on who you're granting access to if it's from a country that is adverse to the United States. But right now, this sort of broad brush approach, I hope, gets really tailored back.
And we'll see how quickly that happens, because this is one that does have a ticking clock.
Absolutely.
School starts in the fall.
Yeah.
Congressman Derek Schmidt, appreciate you being
Thanks,
here.
Melissa, appreciate it.
Of course, debate progressed since that visit, and Representative Schmidt did vote in favor of the ultimate bill that was passed. On to our city leaders. City Manager Robert Perez Jr. and the city's Director of Inclusive Communities, Monique Glaudet, visited the Red Couch recently. My co-anchor, David Oliver, was on hand filling in for me on that day. They answered questions about some upcoming events that they have, that Monique has especially been involved in, but the city manager first addressed the continued questions over Hotel Topeka.
Thank you both for being here today.
Thank you.
Before we get to the events, obviously last week we had some action with regard to Hotel Topeka. The city had to put some more money into the ledger sheet over there, if you will. What is the latest on efforts to sell the hotel? Where are we on vetting those offers at this point?
Yeah, so at this point we're essentially just continuing to look at the details of the financial performance of the offers that have been they've been reported out to the community, and so governing body and staff, we're definitely continuing to work through those details. And again, it's one of our strategic goals to sell it this year. And so we just want to make sure, as we've been saying from the beginning, that we get it into the right hands because of it is a it's important to our community, especially given the recent upgrades to the Expo Center.
Sure.
And so we just want to make sure we protect the asset, but that we get it into the right hands.
Before I move on, do we ever get to a point, though, where we say, okay, we don't have any more money to pump into this hotel?
Well, as I think I mentioned last month, that we have contractual obligations that we have to maintain a certain level of operating funds. Okay. So the money that we continue to put towards the hotel is mainly due to that contractual obligation of a minimum operating funds.
I got you. Monique, you're here to talk about a couple of events that are coming up here in the city. The first being a Community Resource Expo. And this is a kind of a one-stop shop, if you will, to get everybody out there some information they may want to go out and find. Well, tell me about it.
Absolutely, David. So on June 24th from 3 to 7 p.m., thanks to our great sponsors at the Topeka Shawnee County Public Library, we will have over 20 organizations that will be there distributing information about various community resources. And we're really excited that this year we also will have some presentations. So every 15 minutes there'll be a different presentation. One will be on our program Empower Her. Next, the K-State Extension will be providing a presentation on container gardening 101. Okay. We also have another health partner that will be there as well to speak on some items. And so we're just really excited about having that opportunity to share the information with our community.
And then you've got National Night Out coming up in August, and we always talk about this and report on it every year, and it's going to be even bigger and better over there at Ag Hall at the Expo Center. Tell me about it.
Absolutely. So on August 9th from noon to 5, we will have a free event. We're really excited about the partners that will be there. We will have a resource fair at that time. We'll have a market fair, a vendor fair as well. We will have a talent show, a spoken word soiree, cabaret, a car show, a touch a truck event. And so we're really just face painting there. We also have a photo booth. So we're just asking family members to come out, neighbors to come from all around Topeka, just collaborate together and have a good time.
Dr. Perez, just in terms of that Community Resource Expo, what does that mean to the citizens of Topeka in terms of the ease with which they'll be able to get information about various programs and services?
Right, and Monique alluded to it. I mean, it's typically, our residents have to go to multiple places to find these types of resources, but the beauty of this event is that it is a true one-stop shop for everything that's there. And so definitely have to acknowledge Monique for her leadership in bringing these partners together and really creating a good event for our community.
Sure. Let me get our viewers the information and the particulars. In fact, here's the information on that Community Resource Expo. Again, as you heard there, Tuesday, June 24th, 3 to 7 p.m. at the Topeka and Shawnee County Public Library in the Marvin Auditorium. That is that event right there. The next event we talked about, on the next graphic I'm going to show you here, the National Night Out, Saturday, August 9th, noon to 5, Ag Hall at the Stormont Vale Event Center. They're going to have a car show, face painting, all kinds of good things over there. And I have to imagine that our new police chief, Chris Vallejo, may be there too, because he's really, it seems to us, been out there on the forefront trying to talk to people.
Oh, absolutely. And again, Monique has been just phenomenal as far as putting the event together, bringing all of the city departments together, as well as our stakeholders and other partners.
Dr. Perez and Monique Glade, thank you both for being here and talking to us, and we'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Very good.
Of course, we'll continue following those discussions over Hotel Topeka and keep you up to date on some of those city events as well. Appreciate David filling in for that great discussion. We have a lot of great organizations around Northeast Kansas that are working to address substance use disorders, substance use and abuse. Scent Topeka is one of them. Tricia McCourt visited to let us know about some of the services they offer and why this is so vital. Welcome to you, Tricia.
Thank you.
And this is interesting because many people think of substance abuse, of addiction in one realm, but it actually is a recognized mental health disorder.
Yes, and it definitely can exacerbate mental illness, things like depression, anxiety. A lot of times folks will self-medicate and making the substance use disorder more prevalent, and when we rely on things like that to fix or make us feel better, and we're self-medicating rather than going to professionals, there can be a lot of damage.
And it's not a personal weakness. I think a lot of people tend to judge folks who are struggling with addiction.
Absolutely. So our mental illness it can be like a cause from the brain and brain chemistry, and also from trauma. It is definitely not because someone is weak. So
when we talk about mental illness, how common is mental illness in Kansas, and how common are substance use disorders?
So 24% of adults last year in Kansas identified having a mental illness. 18% faced substance use disorder last year in our state.
That's a great number. Mm-hmm. Can those people get help? What's the shortcoming when it comes to being able to access help?
Sure. So Kansas Fights Addiction has given us an opportunity this year to elaborate on social media with a substance use social media campaign. And so every month we are highlighting different things, and so drawing awareness to at Scent the different pieces that people can do for their mental health. So we have mental health therapy, we have the substance use treatment, we have the Southside Wellness Clinic, which will address their physical health issues. We have the Southside filling station where we really promote healthy eating and healthy options. And so doing that wraparound service and bringing in partners to touch things like maybe chiropractic services, or we have affordable massage therapy, where we do want to treat the whole body and allow people to know that they can get those resources all in one place.
And this is Scent Topeka, serving the southeast portion of the Topeka community, because it really was among the number that you gave me. 1.38 million Kansans live in areas that lack sufficient mental health professionals.
Absolutely.
That's really an astounding number. A lot of people who need help aren't getting it.
Right, and that's across the state. And Highcrest was one of those places. Before Tricia Sublett launched our mental health department during COVID in 2020. She identified the need, and so we started the program.
If services are right there, people are more likely to get help. We do have a list that I want to put up on the screen right now so that you can kind of walk through. If people are going, well, I don't need help, these are some signs that we might need support.
Absolutely. So if you identify that maybe you're feeling persistently sad or anxious or overwhelmed, or have a loss of appetite or are overeating, maybe socially withdrawing or avoiding going places, maybe you are relying on alcohol or drugs to feel better, and frequently feeling irritable or on edge. Those are definitely signs that there might be a mental illness.
And when people are looking at this list, Tricia, you know, I think a lot of us feel sad sometimes. Sometimes we're irritable. Maybe we do have a casual drink to unwind at the end of the day. How do we know when any of those things are crossing the line into a situation where we need help?
Sometimes it's hard to identify on our own. So relying on people, your loved ones, giving them permission to call you out on things, that's a very important piece. We might be in denial about it and not recognize it.
Yeah,
So-
someone might notice that something is a little bit out of the norm or over the edge.
Right.
All good tips. Tricia, thank you so very much. Scenttopeka.org is where you can find their information, but also WIBW.com/HearMeSeeMe has a lot of mental health resources for areas, organizations that maybe are national groups or are providers across the region so that you can find help close to home, because you're right, that's an important step. If it's close
Absolutely.
to you, you're more likely to access it. Tricia, thank
Yes.
you, and thank you for all you're doing over there in Southeast Topeka at Scent. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
From Scent, which is a newer Topeka organization, to PARS, Prevention and Resiliency Services. That group has been around for 60 years, recently celebrated its 60th anniversary. Mandy Chachansky and Lisa Boyle sat down to talk about how PARS has evolved to address the community's changing needs. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
Good to see you. For those who aren't familiar, Mandy, with what PARS is and what you do, what is the mission?
We are all about getting out and educating youth and the community about substance use and the impacts that it can have on mind, body, soul, and helping people to make choices that will make their lives a better life for them overall. We do a lot of education for youth, adults, and evaluations for people that are needing assistance towards treatment, and really just trying to spread helpful information to help people.
Certainly over 60 years, we have seen a lot of things change and evolve. Lisa, how has PARS kind of changed along with it to meet whatever the growing issue or demand is of the moment?
Well, they've gone through several changes in names, and in the last few years, we've kind of settled on prevention and resiliency. So over the years, it's gone from just alcohol to grow into more of the drug use and different, which is changing all the time. So we just keep trying to stay current on what the trends are and kind of how we can keep helping the community be more healthy and make better choices to build better families and better individuals.
Certainly one emerging issue for you all has been fentanyl. How have you worked to address that in the community?
We've done a lot of overdose, identifying overdose and responding with naloxone training. We are doing them all the time with different agencies, at the library, making sure that we're getting that message out to people so they know what to look for and be safe if they are choosing to use substances. And then to be able to help one another as well in terms of recognizing if things are going on with families, with family members or loved ones, and making sure that there's early intervention.
Empowerment certainly is kind of a recurring theme, especially when you think about people might not realize Safe Streets is housed within PARS as well. What does Safe Streets do?
Safe Streets has been kind of going through an overarching reimagining, if you will, and we've been working with some targeted neighborhoods and working on getting the neighborhood individuals really empowered and leading their own changes, which has been really exciting. We've called that initiative Block Talks, and neighbors are working with our contractor Isabel to get those block talks initiated, where they are working on whatever changes they've identified in their neighborhoods, from sidewalk improvements to really just getting to know one another and looking out for one another.
You do a lot of work that's outward, but you want people to come in for your 60th anniversary celebration. What do you have planned, Lisa?
Well, we have, of course, food and beverages available for everyone to come in and to enjoy themselves. And we are going to be highlighting some of our programs. So we'll have some information about the block talks, what evaluations look like. We'll be having a mock bedroom so that you can kind of see for yourself where your children or your family members might be hiding things to kind of help you identify things. We'll actually have a session on how to identify an overdose and to administrate naloxone, so that if you have someone, maybe not even, it could be an older person who is taking a lot of medications that might be just accidentally overdosing, but because you never know where that can happen. So all types of people might want to learn how to identify what that overdose looks like and how to help save a life and get them into, call 911 and get them the help that they can get. So we'll have a lot going on, and we'd really love to have people come and tell us their stories, because 60 years is a long time. We've been through a lot of changes. We've had contact with so many people over the years. We'd love to hear some of the stories from families or individuals that have been touched by PARS or one of the Shawnee Regional Prevention Resiliency. Any of the names in the
Well,
past.
it used to be prevention and recovery services, because you focused on the recovery. Resiliency really focuses on that prevention and education part of it, and really reflects.
Bouncing back.
And you're still PARS; it's still the acronym, right?
Right.
So that's what we
Exactly.
need to remember. Thank you both so much.
you
Have
for
a good
having us.
anniversary party.
Thank you.
A lot of folks turned out for PAR's open house that they had for their 60th anniversary recently, but of course they welcome inquiries anytime. You can visit them in person or online. And of course, we salute organizations in your area as well that are doing this great work. Some fantastic events are coming up around Northeast Kansas. Guests are telling us about that, including a program that can help artists make a living off their creative passions. Stay tuned. We're back with more Eye on Northeast Kansas in a moment. Welcome back to Eye on Northeast Kansas, the podcast. We have a lot of veterans, a lot of military service members around Northeast Kansas. We are home to Fort Riley. We also have Forbes Field, the Kansas National Guard, Fort Leavenworth just down the road as well. And Interim Healthcare of Topeka wants you to know that they have achieved the highest level in a program that is specially designed to meet the end-of-life needs of veterans. It's called We Honor Veterans. Casey Couture and AJ Patterson told us why it's so important. And it is an interesting, first of all, Casey, what is the recognition that you have achieved, and what is the program?
Well, the recognition is We Honor Veterans. It's a program that's designed by the VA and the National Hospice Association. And it's really designed to bring healthcare workers that are working with end-of-life patients in hospice and make sure that they're trained adequately and understand the different issues that go on with veterans. They may have different issues than someone who hasn't been in the military service or in battle. And so this way our company has gone through the extensive training now, and we're achieved our level 5, which is the highest, and we are now a mentor for anyone else across the country that would like to have their hospice also do the same.
And the program is very interesting. AJ, what are some of those special needs that you've recognized when it comes to veterans that maybe are different than others?
Absolutely. So what's really incredible about the program is the amount of training we do for our clinicians. Our clinicians go in, and Casey has done a phenomenal job of really working with them to talk about different acts and things that have gone on. We talk about things like the PACT Act that was passed. We talk about things like, you know, caring with someone dealing with PTSD and how that might impact how you might be caring for that individual. So lots of different things go into it to make sure that our clinicians have the proper tools that they need, so that way they can give the proper amount and amazing care to our heroes.
I would think that a lot of people would be familiar with as people age. Maybe there's some level of dementia and memory issues, and people get stuck in the past. When you enter PTSD into that picture, how does it kind of compound what some of those memories you're living in the past might be, and how the clinician has to handle those and be prepared?
Well, when you have PTSD, and if it's based out of your time in service, you've been in combat, or you've been in some very harsh environments, and you now have PTSD at the end of life a lot of times, that can manifest in different ways that is different. So then someone who is trained in a hospice to work with veterans understands that. So possibly odd things may make somebody lash out or become very upset. So then how do you go in and work with that individual to ultimately make sure that they're getting the best care that they need, because they deserve the best care, whatever the circumstances is.
I appreciate too, AJ, what you were saying, that part of this also is connecting with resources.
Absolutely. So a big part of what we do is just really working with different organizations and partnerships. We wouldn't be able to do the work we do without connecting with so many of the organizations doing so many phenomenal things here. We're fortunate enough to be able to provide the healthcare side of it, but we work with different organizations, whether it's combat motorcycle veterans, whether it's the local post or the VFWs. We've even worked with the fire departments. And what's been amazing is seeing these different organizations all come together. And, you know, Casey and I are really fortunate. We can make a phone call in an instant. You know, that's the amazing thing about healthcare is people's care can change in an instant, and we can make a phone call that day and rally the troops, and they'll come out to support their other brothers and sisters in uniform. And it's just an amazing thing to watch, and we're just so fortunate enough to be a part of it.
What difference have you seen this make in some of the veterans you've worked with?
Oh, wow. It has just been, so if somebody is on their final days, and we call one of our veteran partners, the motorcycle combat vets, or the American Legion Post 400, and they come back to say thank you to the veteran with their family surrounding them, to say to them, you know, we do want to honor you before you pass away, because so many people, the thank you comes at the end, at the grave site, when they do present a flag to the family, but this is a way for them to be able to know before they pass away that their country does thank them.
That is the personal side of things. And AJ, we've got some information there on the screen. How do people connect with this if this sounds of interest to them, or they have a loved one that they'd like to make sure gets this type of care?
Absolutely. So you can follow us you can go to our website, interimhealthcare.com/Topeka. And we're also always looking for individuals who might be passionate about caring for veterans and might be looking to either partner with us or even volunteer. Casey runs our volunteer program. I know she's always looking for volunteers. We're always happy to have them, but you know, that's our biggest thing is, like I said, our ability to be able to do this is to continue to expand our reach, and so being able to partner with other organizations who might be doing other veteran care work is going to be incredibly important for us, so we can continue to pass on this service so that many of our other veterans in our community can get this.
Well, hospice work is difficult work, and it's very blessed work, and so we appreciate having you as among the organizations that are doing this in our community. Casey and AJ, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Again, check out the We Honor Veterans website. You can find, perhaps if you're not in the Topeka area where Interim Healthcare is active, you can find an organization near you that participates as well. Let's talk about artists. Of course, wouldn't it be wonderful if you could make a living off your art? A program can help folks do just that. It's called Artists Inc. Arts Connect in Topeka is helping people with the program. They have an application deadline. The sessions don't start until fall, but the application deadline actually is coming up June 16th. So if you're interested, this is piquing your interest. Hopefully you are hearing us before then. A couple Arts Connect members and Artists Inc. presenters, Becky Waugh and Jake Jackson, told us about this program. Welcome to both of you. And we also should say, Becky, you also are in business as well.
I am.
You can give them a shout out.
Yeah, Artismo. I'm a working artist in every way, so I am over there at that art gallery, venue, and bistro as well.
And
so
helping others through Arts
find me
Connect.
all over Noto, yes.
And Artists Inc. What is Artists Inc.?
So Artists Inc. is a program developed and presented by the Mid-America Arts Alliance, which has a region including Kansas, and it is hosted by Arts Connect. This will be our 5th year of putting this program on. It is an 8-week fellowship for artists from all different types of disciplines, and about 24 artists will come together one night a week over the course of 8 weeks, and we learn together, led by 5 professional artists peer facilitators, and we take a look at things like how to properly represent yourself, how to speak about yourself and your art, what's the best use of your time in regards to maybe promotion, marketing, all that social media stuff, all the way down to taxes and making budgetary decisions.
Yeah.
and setting goals. That's probably my favorite part, really defining where you want to go with your art career and figuring out how to get there.
So, and your area of art expertise is?
I'm a visual artist, but I'm also an arts administrator, and so I have the pleasure of working with folks outside of this program in my career who are writers, musicians, theater folks, and everybody brings that creative piece.
Well, and I'm leading into this to ask Jake, because Jake's art's a little different. What is Monster by Night?
Well, Monster Maker by Night was a makeup effects company that I started years ago, and we've actually created an offshoot called MMBM Productions, which is focusing primarily on producing, writing, and directing independent films, which if you've noticed any sort of social media out there, I've got quite a few of them that are actually out there streaming. And have been showing in multiple movie theaters that I was a producer on, as well as did the makeup effects for. But in 2002, I was in the Artist Inc. program, and coming off of COVID, it was an experience that kind of helped break me out of the shell of having been secluded for so long, interacting with other artists and learning a lot of stuff. And I loved it so much and found such great value in it that 2 years later, I reached out to Becky and said, hey, if there's an opening for a facilitator, I'd love to do it. So I did that last year. It was an incredible experience getting to pass on that knowledge that I'd gained and that excitement onto others. And now I'm coming back for a second round this fall.
I think there are a lot of very talented artists out there who you think, gosh, why isn't this person famous and making a living? What is the one thing you learned, the one maybe skill that you realized that you were lacking and didn't know that allowed you to then make this a viable living for you?
Well, I think part of it is that most artists we're all kind of introverted people. Like we love to do the art, but in terms of like there's the boundary of going, how do I put this out there? What are people going to say? What are people going to think? And it really does kind of help you to understand. The more you understand about the process and understand about getting your artwork out there, the less intimidated, the less fear you have. And I think to me that is what it is it truly is breaking down that fear factor of putting your art out there, realizing there are other artists out there and there's a community, and artists truly do tend to support everyone else in the arts community, and it helps build up that.
And what about for you, Becky? What was the big thing that you learned?
As I kind of alluded to earlier, as an artist, we field a lot of requests from a lot of people, and we can keep busy, but knowing what you want to do with your art is huge, and really being able to determine where you want your art career to take you is that first initial step in figuring out how to get there. So that was monumental for me. And learning alongside so many artists that are in a similar situation, and it really makes you realize that you're kind of not alone with all of those questions, and everybody's facing similar types of challenges.
And let's be clear, it's not about, so many people I think, oh gosh, if I do this, I'm going to be called a sellout. And it's not about being a sellout. It's about being able to make smart decisions for yourself.
It really is about sustainability as an artist. You can say I'm an artist, but if you can't sustain yourself as an artist, and one of the biggest things that I always loved about this was learning that there are so many different facets about being an artist. So if you're a painter, you can be a painter. You could teach that. You could collaborate with somebody and create something different.
A lot of things. And so there's a lot of lessons, and they take place over 8 weeks, but you need to apply now. The application deadline is June 16th. Go to artstopeka.org/artist Inc. I will put a direct link on WIBW.com. And Arts Connect support makes it basically free for the artists who participate, which is fantastic news. So get your application in and go from there. Becky, Jake, thank you. We certainly appreciate Arts Connect for letting us know about that program. And art is one facet of Fiesta Topeka. The upcoming festivities will get the community excited about our Mexican friends and neighbors. It used to be called Fiesta Mexicana. It is now Fiesta Topeka, based in the community's Oakland neighborhood. That is where our Lady of Guadalupe Parish is located. And this is a benefit for Holy Family School, which is the joint parish school for Our Lady of Guadalupe and Sacred Heart St. Joseph School. So Fiesta, it has so many fun events coming up, a big, huge full schedule as always. And Renee Franklin gave us our first look ahead. Welcome to you. 92
Hi.
years. I love it. We're proud to be a partner with you once again in this fantastic event.
We are delighted to have you join us again as a partner, and we're grateful that you're having us here on Mondays.
Well, let's first of all get the elephant out of the room. First of all, is the Branner Bridge. Everybody's talking about it. And our news at 6 o'clock tonight, we're going to visit with the German Fest organizers because that also benefits Holy Family School, which Fiesta does as well. So that we have to figure it all out before this weekend, but by July, we hope they have it figured out to get to Fiesta. What are you telling folks as far as getting to Fiesta?
Well, our plan is to have the shuttle again this year, and that will be publicized quite heavily once we get the route in place for that. Also, we're going to have some interactive maps put on our website and probably social media also to show the different ways to get in, because Oakland has many ways in. I think folks forget that the Branner Street isn't the only way to get to us. So.
Well, if people who live north know that, yeah, of course, Fiesta. Fiesta is fun. We have video of last year's event. The big party is still on Our Lady of Guadalupe grounds. What can we expect? Anything new? Anything highlights this year?
I think what you can expect is more of the most amazing party of the summer. I think we're very excited about our music lineup. We have lots of great music coming in, lots of very popular music from different genres. Our Kids Corner's back, and that was extremely popular last year. So bring the kiddos out. They're going to have so much fun.
And the art festival happens at the same time as well. What artists got them all lined up?
We've got a lot of artists lined up already, and more will be coming in as we get closer. It's amazing. I was down there myself during the Fiesta last year and bought an art piece right off the wall because I just fell in love with it and I couldn't leave it. So it's absolutely wonderful. It's amazing to see the different types of cultural touchstones in our art. It just really was amazing to see.
Well, before we get to the big party on the Our Lady of Guadalupe grounds in the Oakland neighborhood, first of all, you actually are kicking things off June 28th.
That is correct.
What are the first events?
First event on June 28th will be our 5K run walk.
Yeah.
And so we're very excited about that. Early, and we're going to be at Oakland Community Center like we always do. It's a lot of fun in this run. We have a great time. Music all along the route.
I'm just saying.
Absolutely. It's a run walk. It's a run walk, 5K run walk. Music all along the route. People cheering. There's going to be snacks. There's going to be prizes. It's going to be a party.
And then that night, everyone is invited to party downtown at Evergy Plaza because the mini Jamaica is June 28th already.
I know. And at the same day. So you're going to walk and run in the morning, and then you're going to dance at night.
Exactly.
So we're going to have vendors. We're going to have food.
A DJ this year?
Absolutely. And it's going to be amazing. All different kinds of vendors to choose from, food everywhere. It's always a party in Evergy Plaza.
Now, tell me about your queen candidate, because actually you can get the party started with tacos early because food sales are underway. One queen candidate this year, but I understand she's a very hard worker, and there's not going to be any kind of little leg there. She's a hard worker.
Absolutely. Milagro Alvarado is her name. She's an absolutely beautiful young lady and is just working her craziness off in that kitchen. She's just doing amazing things in there. And her family and her are treating us all. Our food sales are back up next Monday.
Next Monday, okay.
June 9th.
And then all week long you can go there for lunch?
All week.
And then every week leading up to Fiesta?
It will be every other week.
Every other week. Okay, folks, but here is your calendar of events for Fiesta itself. June 28th is the 5K and the mini Jamaica. July 12th is when the big parade is downtown, along with the Coronation Ball later that evening. And then July 15th to 19th, mark your calendar, because that's when the festival and art show take place on the Our Lady of Guadalupe Church grounds. And then July 18th, we're going to throw another event in there. Why not? The golf tournament is going to happen on the 18th because we just want to have a little extra fun.
Absolutely. Golf tournament is always an amazing time. Packed full, having a great time on the greens for the kids of Holy Family.
Exactly. This is a main fundraiser for Holy Family School, the parish school for Our Lady of Guadalupe and Sacred Heart St. Joseph.
Absolutely.
And that's why they also want you to go to German Fest this weekend.
That's right. German Fest is a great partner, so we're delighted.
I love how
to be
food is, it's such a good part of any culture, and they just showcase it through these festivities, along with the entertainment, too.
Absolutely.
Renee, thank you. Appreciate you. We at WIBW are proud partners for Fiesta Topeka. It is always a fun time for our community. All right, what's coming up at the Shawnee County Fair this year? Well, it doesn't get more classic than bull riders. PBR, Professional Bull Riding, is coming back to Topeka and will be part of the Shawnee County Fair. The announcement was made recently, and Judd Mortensen sat in to tell us all about it. And I love this partnership, the bull riding and the Shawnee County Fair, because the fair is one of my favorite things that we have around here during the summer months. How long has it been since professional bull riding has been here?
Well, it's been a long time. We don't really want to date it, but at least 15, 18 years probably since PBR has been here in Topeka. Super excited to be bucking out here at the Stormont Vale Event Center, July 26th. Coming in here, coming after our New Year's Eve bull riding, we're super excited, to be bringing some of the top PBR riders in and some of the best bulls too. So
you shared a little bit of video with me that we can show of how this all works. How is this different than what people might be used to from the New Year's Eve show?
Well, you know what? It's a little bit different in the field of riders. That's about it. The caliber of bulls will be similar. The PBR riders have been standalone since 1994 from the PRCA. So again, that field kind of follows the PBR, and you'll get to see a lot of the Brazilian riders will be there, international, a little bit more international. But it's going to be the same thing. They say, you're going to rent the whole seat, but you're just going to sit on the edge of it. We're going to buck hard and fast, and there's some bull riding action right here.
And I love this video too, because the crowd gets so into it. What makes it so exciting for someone who's never been to a live bull riding show before? How would you explain it and describe to people what they're going to experience?
They're going to see something that they can't even believe is happening. That's what it is to me, right? And even as a rider, ex-rider, you sit there and you watch this and you're like, man, that bull is massive. He's jumping so fast, going so high. And then for a guy to match him move for move, it's outstanding, action-packed, we don't take a lot of downtime, you're getting, like I said, it's bull riding action one after another, and that's what kind of sets PBR apart is we really buck them one after another, so it's super fun, and it is bull time, that's for sure. I love
What
it.
is the athleticism involved? I'm not sure people necessarily understand that. It's like they don't just you don't walk out to an arena and just jump on a bull and see how it goes.
Well, that's a very good question, because you in the agricultural industry, you understand that these animal athletes have got so much strength and action. Really, everybody just thinks that you have to have a big, strong bicep, but no, that's not it. You got to have core strength, right? And really, really beat on your core to be able to move so fast from this point to that point in a nanosecond, and really to be able to ride subconsciously, And so it takes a lot of training, really, to ride these bulls. To be able to ride a horse a lot is you can understand the animal, how he moves, to work cattle. It really helps a lot. So, no, I wouldn't suggest to anybody that from the inner city to say, okay, intermediate shoot number one. I don't think it's a good idea.
Not so much. Well, and they keep getting back up. I remember after the New Year's Eve show, I messaged you and I said, I hope he's okay, because one of the riders looked like he got hurt, and you're like, he's a cowboy. He'll just get back up and wipe the dust off and go.
They brush it off. I like to say, I retired. I was fortunate to make the finals a lot of times, and you don't realize that you can actually live life without being sore. It takes about 2 years after you retire to realize that your body creates a cocoon around yourself. They do. It's tough, And now I like kind of watching it from the inside, but the out just a little bit.
Just a little bit. How cool is the partnership with the Shawnee County Fair? Why partner with an event like the county fair?
Well, because the county fair is really what the rodeo and bull riding is all about, right? And so if we can help bring some excitement, some awareness to the fair, we're all about it. So that means a lot to us. Because it is what we are. We're agriculture. We're Western-based people, very patriotic, and so to be partnering with the fair over there is super exciting. So get out there, guys. Enjoy the fair. There's a lot of stuff that happens out there at the Stormont Event Center. That's the fair, and you're probably a little bit more aware of a lot of the activities that happen out there, But we're going to be bucking some bulls right in the middle of that. So come on out there, guys. It's a 3-day.
And you're right. The kids work so hard for the fair. There are displays not just in agricultural pursuits, but photography and clothing and food. There's usually a train exhibit that goes on. And so to meet the young men and women, they're learning leadership skills, and to support all of that along with the agriculture industry is, I think, a fantastic partnership that you got going here.
I love that.
Okay, so we want you to know the date. Now, the fair is going to be going all around this, but July 26th is the evening that you want to mark off to get your tickets for the PBR, Professional Bull Riding, at the Stormont Vale Events Center, and those tickets are on sale now. Get ready for July. Judd, good to have you here in nicer weather.
Well, I tell you what, it is pretty green out here in Topeka, and it is beautiful, like y'all said.
Good to see you. It's so exciting for PBR to come and be a featured event at the county fair. Hopefully you have county fairs near you that you've been able to go out and enjoy and experience. I've been honored to actually be involved in emceeing the 4-H King and Queen crowning at the Shawnee County Fair for a number of years now. I loved 4-H growing up. I grew up in Wisconsin and loved participating in 4-H there, and our county fair every year was a great event to look forward to. We have great county fairs around our part of Northeast Kansas, and it's always great to see the hard work of young people pay off and get rewarded. We hope you are having a great summer so far. Remember, you can see the video from these segments and all of our guests that have been in the studio on WIBW.com. I also post the links on my Facebook page, which is WIBW Melissa Bruner. You can also see our studio selfies there for a little behind the scenes look. Glad to have you along this week listening in, and until next time, we'll see you on the Red Couch.